What a week it's been. Oh, man. What a time to be alive as a ginger man. Woo. That just sounds good, don't it? You know, I've had a hard time trusting God and the way He does things. You know, I'm aware that we all get our adult wieners at different times. You know, it's not everybody gets them at the same age. You know, some of us are just a little bit delayed. But I'm no longer worrying about it now. Now that I know I'm getting a black one, whenever it comes in, there's going to be three things you ain't going to be able to tell my black ass. That's shit, nothing, and a damn thing. I'm just going to be dragging that big bitch around.
See, let me explain, because I don't think black people realize how much of God's work they're doing right now. For no reason at all, they decided to extend an olive branch and just say, you know what, ginger folk, you guys are us. We want you over here. And we were like, we want to be over there. We're coming right over. And here we are. Growing up in school, being a redhead was not cool. We got made fun of. Raggedy Ann doll, redheaded stepchild. You look like somebody threw crap at you through a screen door. If my redhead's hearing this, they know what I'm talking about. They've all heard it. We got picked on. Another thing that's happened to me that you guys are just bringing full circle is growing up in a school prominently with white people, I listened to rap music. I happen to think black women were beautiful. So my entire high school career and growing up, it was, you know that you're white, don't you? Why don't you act your race? And black people said, you know what? You know what? Matter of fact, he is black. They are black. We want him over here. And you know what? We couldn't be happier than ever. We love you guys.
Apparently, I woke up on my social media seeing this trending topic of ginger being black, ginger people being black, this red hair people being black. And it's a viral video, maybe 5 days ago, or maybe a week ago. And I decided, let me talk about it because I have seen reactions of gingers are now celebrating like they just got approved for dual citizenship for Wakanda. They are happy. And that is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to play you reaction of some gingers, what they are saying about this. Because being Wakanda is top notch. Everyone wants to be Wakanda. They're out here smiling, calling it a revelation, calling it a revolution, saying things like, I always felt different. Now I know why. I always felt like, now I know why. Now, before I go down into my commentary, let's play videos of gingers talking about this because I'm happy. Everyone can come into the black community, assume yourself as black, but let's watch to these reactions and then we come back here with my commentary.
Yo, I'm hopping on here real quick because this whole gingers are black thing. Dude, I'm telling you right now, gingers are so fucking unhinged that if we combine with the black people, which we are, because I'm black now, it's game fucking over. Because redheads are psychopaths. And when I say psychopaths, I mean we got you. We fucking, dude, us, you, combined, game over. Don't fuck with us. It's over. This is my dog. Love y'all.
Okay, so for those of you who are seeing this gingers are black trend, you don't know what's going on, and especially for the haters, because God knows you motherfuckers are watching, and we know exactly who you are. The ones who are out here screaming, oh, if gingers aren't black, they're just using them. Like, dude, listen. Let me break it down for you why this is going as viral as it is and why y'all don't get it. All right? Clear, plain and simple. If you are a redhead, a real redhead, you likely got bullied your entire life for having red hair. If you're like me, you've been called firecrotch, carrot top, gingers have no soul, rather be dead than red. My own dad used to bust my balls with that one, right? Leprechaun, my mom called me that this morning. Do the carpets match the drapes? Like, all this stuff. Like, yeah, we've all heard it all. All right? If you're like me, that shit never came from the black kids. I don't think I've ever been made fun of for my hair and for being a redhead once in my entire life by somebody who was black. As a matter of fact, I was always friends with the black kids. They always welcomed me in with open arms and never gave me a problem. So to me, when this whole thing popped off, was no surprise at all. Because first things first, as a redhead, we never felt like we fit in anywhere. The deal is, man, like, black people are super accepting. They're always loving. They're always fun. They always kind of include everybody. For all y'all who are showing us all the love out there, who are welcoming us in with open arms, we love you. We appreciate you. We thank you very much. For all the bullies out there who are still trying to talk shit, dude, it ain't working anymore. All right? Drop it. Enough's enough.
What's going on, people? How you doing? Tell me why something was clarified for me today. Because I was always confused on why a lot of people go on my videos and they'll comment some dumbass response like, oh, why you acting black? Or what you think you're black? And all this mumbo jumbo. And I ignore those kind of comments because it's ignorance, right? But then my sister calls me today. She goes, girl, are you on that side of TikTok? I said, what are you talking about? She goes, the side of TikTok that apparently all gingers are now considered black. So that explains it. That is why most of these people are always like, oh, are you black? Why are you acting black on your video? Stop acting black. Because you want to know something? Because a bitch is black. Don't hate because I'm black and you not. Okay? Bye.
What's up, guys? While I'm waiting here, I thought I would chime in on the TikTok phenomena that is saying redheads, gingers, are honorarily black. My 2 cents on this. Just a quick story. So I grew up in a black neighborhood. I went to an all-black school for a while, and I would just like to say that while I lived in a black neighborhood and I went to an all-black school, I never got bullied. I never got othered. I never got made fun of. If anything, everybody was always cool to me, treated me like everybody else. My mom's best friend was black, and her and her family were always like super nice to me. But when I went to the all-white school, that's when the bullying started. That's when the othering started. You know, people would call me ugly pretty regularly. I got bullied pretty fucking hard. And a lot of the times it was making fun of me for my hair and my freckles and, you know, being a pale person and whatnot. The irony of this is that my dad actually is Filipino, and so I'm not entirely white, but I look like this. So, yeah. But my experience, black people have always been really cool to me. I love black people. I love black culture, and to me, that's an honor that anybody's even saying that. I appreciate it. Seeing all these TikToks of other redheads talking about their experiences has been really actually super cathartic for me. It's a very unique experience to be a redheaded person. I think you don't really understand that unless you're one of us. I mean, like, there's usually, you know, only one of us in a room, you know what I mean? Or if there's even one of us in a room. You know, so there are similarities that we have with being in spaces sometimes where we don't feel exactly super comfortable or welcome. I would never compare it to dealing with the same pressures or you know, injustices of people of color, but it is its own unique kind of othering that happens. You know, that's pretty weird and interesting and unique to the person who's dealing with it. Funny side note story, when I was a kid, the first music I got into was hip-hop. I still love hip-hop. And my favorite rap group was Public Enemy. And my favorite movie was Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee, because also Public Enemy is in that movie. But at the time, in rap music, if you remember, it was really popular and cool to wear those leather African medallions, right? Like, instead of a gold chain, you wear like a black leather African medallion, right? And I thought they were so cool. And I traded a kid in my class a G.I. Joe, specifically Zartan, if you know G.I. Joe. I traded a G.I. Joe for one of those African medallions, and I wore it around me, and I thought it was cool, and I didn't understand why maybe that's not okay. And then one of my friends was like, yo, nah, you know? And then my sister was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't. But I meant well. Anyways, it's fun on TikTok right now.
I didn't want to let this gingers are black thing go. I could not let it go without making a post about it. I have a couple of stories that are related to this. Growing up, obviously, red hair, freckles, you know, the whole thing. Also the name Mora, which in the United States of America at the time that I was growing up was somewhat unusual. I felt, you know, other as a redhead, and my siblings are not redheads, but anyway, I was the red. That's what my dad called me. And I think the one story I want to relate, a couple of them, they highlight my white privilege. Let's just put it that way. In some sense, they do that. We had young Scottish women from Scotland who came and lived with us as what we called maids. It's like an au pair. So there was an opportunity for these young women to come to the United States and have a job and have a place to live. And my mother not to go into the hospital with a nervous breakdown with the four of us. So I'm roughly 5 years old. And this one woman, she just didn't like me. She was mean to me. You know, brushing my hair at night, the ritual at night was like, my hair was, I was crying always. And of course, I don't know if you know this, but redheads have a higher sensitivity to pain. One New Year's Day, I remember I had to be about 5, I'm gonna guess. She came into the room and saw me, and she screamed at the top of her lungs and turned around on her heel and ran back out again. And I was like so stunned and frightened. I didn't know what had happened. And it turns out it's very bad luck to see a redhead first thing on New Year's Day. It bodes ill for the rest of the year. That's a Scottish superstition. Confirm this for me, please, you Scottish people, if this is true. But anyway, that was my experience. She screamed and ran from the room when she saw me. And I had to have, you know, she had to explain it to my father, and then I had to be placated. I was very upset. I was very sad. She was upset. It's like, I've ruined her life. Wow. I was 5. Later, several years later, my parents divorced, and my father moved to Michigan, and the way we got to see him often was vacations that involved business trips for him. And one of those vacations was at a big hotel up in northern Michigan, the Grand Hotel, if you've ever heard of it. Back in the day, the tradition was that they had the wait staff was all black people. I guess it was kind of like, you know, let's like make America great again. Yeah, it was like hearkening back to when the servants were all black people. Now, I probably was about 9 at this point, maybe. That was not lost on me. I was starting to get some consciousness of things of that nature. But there was one waiter in particular who was very friendly and very outgoing, and he was nice, and he was nice to us, and he was really nice to me. And he made a comment one day that he put his arm up next to mine, and he said, "You got me in spots." And I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm gonna be all right. That acceptance from this total stranger meant a lot to me. You know, moving forward, of course, I grew up in the 60s with the music, and my favorite music was Memphis Soul and Motown and whatnot, you know, and all that entails. And I just, you know, I just knew that I wasn't going to get through this shit without crying. hearing the stories, listen, I didn't go through some of the hell that a lot of redheads went through, and I certainly didn't go through anything like what a black person would have to live through. But it's touching, and that alliance of gingers and black people, I think, well, we could start to get somewhere with that shit. Maybe we will make some progress.
So I'm at the gas station, I go inside to pay, and this black guy walks up to me and he goes, "You know you're one of us now." And I laughed, I said, "I know." And he's like, "Yeah, that's all I've been watching on TikTok." I said, "Absolutely." So I'm paying, and there's a lot of people in the store, mostly black people. And the guy's leaving, and he says, "All right, see you later, black people." And he looks at me and he winks. And I gotta say, this has been an amazing turn of events.
If I see one more video talking about gingers being black, I might just lose my mind. My fucking confidence skyrockets every single time I see one of those videos. Like, I don't think you understand how much I love black women. And like, I don't know why, but I've never felt more safe or more loved than when a black woman calls me baby. Be my mother. Be my mother right now. And to have you guys hyping us up and showing us love, like, it makes me feel so seen and loved and appreciated and welcome. Oh my God.
I didn't like the whole gingers was black thing from the beginning, but I felt like it was a bit redundant for me to say anything about it. By the time I even seen the video, it was at like 40 million views, so I felt like I was late. Especially when I found out a black person said it. Like I say, even the whole black fatigue thing, y'all was using it the wrong way. I didn't like when black people was saying it, how they was using it. None of it. I don't like it. It'd be one thing if black people didn't have their own gingers, their own redheads, then it'd be like, okay, like maybe. But the fact that it's black people with red hair, when my nephew came out, he had red hair. My dad had red hair at a point, but then it turned brown. It's people on the internet, freckle face, red hair, black people, like, we have our own. All these videos on my For You page are literally white people talking about how they're black queens, or, you know, like, oh, I'm happy it all makes sense now. First of all, one guy said, "Can I come to the barbecue now?" We don't have barbecues. We have cookouts. And now it's a whole bunch of white women and men on my TL talking about how they're black. Black people in their comments saying, "Welcome to the family. Your new auntie is here." We are so accepting. Maybe it just goes to show like how kind our hearts are. If you see a white person in a black club, they're literally hyping them up. If you see a black person in a white club, they're looking at them like they're not supposed to be there. When fucking Hallie was casted as Ariel, they said it wasn't their Ariel. Now all of a sudden, gingers are black. Which one is it? I will never understand the human psyche.
So I am not black, and neither is any other white person with red hair. I am not trying to be a hater when I say that, but I just saw a video on my For You page of a girl that looks exactly like me lip syncing the N-word. And the text on the screen said, "Don't be mad at me. They said that I'm black." I have also seen a lot of videos on my For You page of black people being upset at the wording of saying all gingers are black. And justifiably so. Like I just said, a girl that looks exactly like me was just lip syncing the N word on my FYP. Trust me, I have been scrolling the past few days because I do think a lot of aspects of this conversation are interesting. Like how it kind of shows that white supremacy ruins everything, like even stuff for white people. I do think growing up a natural born redhead in predominantly white spaces is a great example of how white supremacy can also be harmful to white people. The problem is then turning around and comparing it to 400 years of slavery and systemic racism. It's okay if you're a redhead and black people are commenting under your TikTok post, inviting you to the cookout and like calling you cousin and making those jokes. White redheads, stop making TikToks calling black people your cousins and asking if you can bring this, that, and the third to the cookout. Do you all know how that looks and how that sounds when you do shit like that? You're taking it too far. They gave us an inch, you are taking a mile. Just like Hoochie God said, the only way that you can be ginger and black is if you are ginger and black. Point blank period. End of fucking discussion. Just as quickly as this conversation has become a positive, like camaraderie with lots of love and like thoughtful stories being shared. This is the internet. It could just as quickly turn around, and because of a few dumbass people, this situation could turn a whole 180 just as quickly. And I'm already seeing some shit that is concerning, to say the least. Us redheads need to continue doing what we do best, which is minding our fucking business. Appreciate the acknowledgement that we have received online this week and keep it pushing. Y'all are embarrassing the fuck out of me already.
I have a hot take on the redheads or the black people of white people, because what do you mean? Why is this a conversation? How did this conversation come to be? How did they transition from gingers are black to gingers are the black people of white people? Just because you preface your input to the conversation by saying, oh, I don't mean to compare, I don't mean to diminish, I don't mean to invalidate the feelings and experiences of the black community, that doesn't mean that you're not doing it, because that's exactly what you're doing. Just because you don't have the intention of doing something doesn't mean that you're not doing it. I understand the conversation, the part of the conversation that is from the Irish, right? I know the initial challenges and discrimination that the Irish faced when they migrated to America, right? I know. I've learned about it. But I'm not Irish. I'm American. Not all redheads are Irish. They're not all from Ireland. I'm literally a white American. And I can say with 100% certainty that no white American has ever experienced discrimination, racism, or oppression on any fucking level. 100%. I'm sorry if you were bullied, but bullying is not comparable to racism. I've seen redheads say their experiences of being called a carrot top, which, like, yeah, okay, sorry. But, like, being called a carrot top at the age of 6 and being called the N-word for the first time at the age of 6? Imagine that 6-year-old black kid going to their parents and saying, I was called this. And their parents having to explain to them that that's racism and they're going to experience that for the rest of their fucking life. And they've experienced it since, the beginning of time? That is something that they have to deal with, that they are going to deal with. That is not something that they can change. If you're so offended by your hair color, change it. Change it to whatever color you want. No one cares. That's not a problem. I've seen so many different inputs to the conversation. One of them being, I've specifically seen black women come on this platform and say this. I'm sure it happens to black men. But I've seen black women be offended, rightfully so, when a person comes up to them and says, oh my gosh, your hair is so pretty, is it real? That's rude. That's fucking rude. And I've seen redheads take that and say that it's comparable to when a person comes up to them and says, oh my gosh, your hair is so pretty, is it your natural hair color? That's not fucking rude. That's a genuine question. I asked that question. My sister, who has extremely dark hair, like black hair, gets asked that question. She doesn't dye her hair. That's just her natural hair color. I'm sure blondes get asked that question. That is not something that is just subject to redheads. I also saw on a video where a girl was sharing her experiences. There was a very top-liked comment. And the comment was something to the effect of, oh yeah, and when like fake freckles became a trend and when copper hair became a trend in like 2020, that's like our cultural appropriation. You said what? Hair color is not a culture. First of all, you know who has fake freckles? Me. These freckles are not real. Do I have freckles under my makeup? Yes, but they're not as prominent when I put on foundation, so I use brown eyeliner and I just like tap them in. You know who else has freckles? My older sister. She has brown hair. You know who else has freckles? My younger sister, who is Mexican. I'm Mexican. She's my full-blood sister. She has freckles. You know who else has freckles? Black people. Freckles are not subject to redheads. You know what is a problem though? How makeup companies are not inclusive with black people. That is a real world problem. Real world problem. I had a list. That is a real fucking world problem. That is literally an example of systemic racism. That topic has only been brought up, 5-10 years ago? That like it was a problem? Black people experience that on a daily fucking basis. Changing your hair color to red is not a problem. It is not a problem. We are already digressing as a society because of so many things, because of so many factors, and this conversation arguably contributes to that fact. We should not be comparing hair color, something that we can change, to a skin tone. It is not okay on any level whatsoever.
Welcome back. Now, I don't have much to say because this is where science and internet come into chaos. I was just playing the reactions because it's so crazy reactions, and I loved hearing this where the ginger men are talking, ginger ladies are talking how they felt as black people, and I came to realize that whoa, as long as black people are so neglected, but some people wants to be black. I've seen videos even of white people saying that they would love to be black. White kids are like, oh, I'm black, I'm not white, and everything. Technically, it is true. It is true that red hair traits may have existed among small African population thousands of years ago. Certain indigenous people, like some Melanesians, do have reddish brown hair naturally with dark skin. But you know what that doesn't mean? That doesn't mean if you are white, pale, freckled, and sunburn proms, you are now black. That's what I'm trying to say. That's not how identity works. That's not how any of this works. I know as black people, some of us have been saying, okay, yeah, you are black. And I've seen a reaction of other black people saying, we don't need you here and everything. But at the end of the day, we are talking reality because we are not trying to misinform our future generations. There's some people watching these videos and they'll be like, oh, if this is part of black culture, then. So we are not trying to do that. So we are trying to clarify things and make things how it is. That is my reaction. My reaction is not to glorify how ginger people are happy to be black or how black people are happy that we have add numbers. We don't need to add numbers that are not our own numbers. We need to add numbers. You can be friends who work with us, solidarity with us. Because if we accept maybe ginger are our own, then let's talk about Latino. Latino have been our friends for so long. And we have black Latinos too. It is not a matter of just celebrating that, oh, we got numbers. No. Sometimes when I sit down and see such kind of videos, I see it's a move of something is cooking or something is cooking that it's not good, maybe for the black community. I saw a video of one redhead dude. In the video says that I always knew I was different. Now I know it is because I'm part of something bigger. I know black people are something bigger. I know that. I've seen even videos of parents showing their kids dancing hard, saying that I knew this is from black people. Bruh, hell no. Let me say this. You are not part of the struggle just because your head turns red or orange in sunlight. You ain't part of the struggle. Being black is something deep. Being black, it's not about the color. Being black, it is trauma. It is traumatic. Being black, it is struggle for years, man. Even right now, as a black person, I'm still struggling because I'm black. In my own country, when a white person comes here, we are going the same supermarket, this white person will pass. But me as a black person, I will have to be checked. Even you as a ginger person, you will pass. I'll have to be checked. When I'm walking in the street as a black person, people go watching me like, oh, this guy, okay, he may be something. But you as a ginger or white person, you're just walking. No one cares about you. We are struggling as black people. For you to be black, that's not struggle. That's not struggle. Let's not do this. I beg, let's not do this. Let's not remix centuries of oppression into a TikTok trend. Because I support ginger rights. I do. And you all have been bullied, teased, South Park, did you all dirty. I know about that. I've read about that and understand how painful it is. But this new millennial awakening movement is not the solution. Just because you had a rough middle school experience does not mean you get to claim ancestral trauma. You get me? Don't quote me wrong. I'm just trying to be a black person, trying to share my views or commentaries. That's like, that's like, for example, someone liking samosa, saying that I must be East African inside. Just because you like tea, maybe you say I'm like Kenyan inside. Or just because you love ugali, you say maybe I'm like, just because you love reggae music or dancehall, you say maybe I'm like Jamaican inside. It doesn't work like that. In a true way, it's not just about the trend. Talking reality. My work is to speak reality and to put things on the ground. I'm not following the masses or the waves of the trend. Okay? Let's not confuse taste with heritage. Okay? I know a lot of black people will agree with me and a lot of black people will not agree with me because maybe they're saying, oh, you're saying this to the allies. No. We may be allies, but not accepting this what's going on. Okay? Now, that video went viral and I get this. I get why this went viral. It's got the three things that internet love. Number one, a misunderstood science fact. Internet love that. Number two, a hot take about race. Number three, a group of white people trying to be special in a new way. That's why this video has gone viral. But here is the reality. Blackness is not a pigment. It's a gene. It's not I burn in the sun, therefore I relate. Blackness is culture. It is history. It is survival. It is rhythm and resistance. It is systematic, inherited trauma, oppression, and joy. That is the real meaning of blackness. So for you to claim being black, then you own all of these things that I've just said. You don't get rid, or you don't get to inherit that through your hair follicles. You understand what I'm saying? There is no genetic shortcut to soul. You get that? No genetic shortcut to soul. So you can have the red hair and respect African roots. That's cool. That's very cool. You can study the history, support Black Lives Matters, even vibe with the culture, jump when black jump, run when they run, shout when black people shout. But claiming identity, that's another level. And that's wild. It's wild how people only want to be black when it feels empowering. You know, being black feels powerful. Being black feels bold. Being black feels empowering. You know, a black person, black, it feels the energetic, but not when it's time to deal with it now, or time to deal with the police brutality, time to deal with the inculcation, time to deal with the issues that's coming with black, housing discrimination, racial profiling, followed in the stores. You know, suddenly the red hair can't save you there. You know, suddenly you are Irish again. Yeah, when these things hits home, you turn to Irish. You're not black. You understand that? So imagine someone's walk into an app meeting like, excuse me, my great grand uncle might have a reddish afro. I would like to reclaim my birthright. Imagine that. Okay? You don't get sorted into ethnic houses. Okay? To all the gingers out claiming that the new black identity is great, or to all the gingers claiming the blackness identity, I know maybe the one who said that said like a joke, but to all those who doesn't understand it reality, let me tell you this. I need you to pause, take a breath, a deep breath, and understand. You don't need to be black to be valuable. You don't need to adapt someone else's culture to feel whole. Being ginger is already rare, beautiful, and unique. Be that. Be a ginger. Celebrate that. Because trying to be black or try to adapt that blackness for, because of the TikTok viral, that ain't it. Okay? And we are not letting you into the cookout just because you listen to Kendrick and got sunburned in Morocco. We ain't doing that. Okay? I hope I'm not offending someone. I hope I ain't offending someone, but I'm just stating the reality. So this is another case of identity tourism gone wild. Anyway, what do you all think? Because I think blackness comes with a lot of package. It's a full package of trauma, a full package of everything. And that is what has made black bold. That's what have made black people strong. So when you identify yourself as black, you feel that boldness. Tell me what you think on the comment section about this video. Until next episode, peace out.